Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to the pregame and halftime show. A little different this year. We'll be doing some. We get to do video this year for high school football. Before we're able to do that, and joining us again this year is going to be Evan Dreyer and also Vince Suriano. And the season opener always is a very exciting time, and I know a lot of people get excited for you. And I think a lot, just with everything that's going on with the COVID, just to have sports and to know that we're going to have high school football come Friday night is pretty exciting. Don't you agree?
Oh, I think the excitement is at a whole new level because you're starting a school year and you're starting a new season. All put together, everybody's finally getting a reason to come out of their house and to watch a live sporting events. Takes it to a new level. So we're excited to kick off this school year and to face a new opponent, Little Miami.
Yeah, like you said, last year you came off 7-3, 6-1 in the conference, just missing the playoffs. And I think if you looked at the year, you guys all around though, you had a great group of kids last year. And with that, do you think that what do you take from that? You think that those kids really instilled to the kids that you have now coming into this year what it is about playing at Anderson High School?
I think last year getting 7-3, the last two games, the grit and toughness our senior class showed to try to get into the playoffs was amazing. The 29-28 loss versus Turpin still stings. And I think those 2 weeks after that showed how much they wanted to win and see if they could will us the playoffs. And it didn't work out due to the Hardman ratings. I still feel like we were one of the top 8 teams to play in our region. And I think going forward, I think with our new conference, 3 new teams, I think us being a Division II team in our conference helps us with playoffs moving forward. And this year, only having 6 games to make everybody in the playoffs. So we're going to see what the future beholds for that. But I did love how our seniors ended and could always look back with no regrets in the final 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always nice when you have you're not sure what you have when you come back, but it's really nice to know that you have a returning quarterback in Jackson Kuhn who's coming back. That's really got to be a bonus for you to start the season.
I think our quarterback play has been great. And last year he got injured, played through it, played half the game versus Turpin with a broken wrist and competed and showed toughness. And I think his offseason, he's put on strength. He's put on a great amount of football IQ from his head down to his shoulders. And we can't wait to see how he performs. And he's excited. He's been a ball boy. He's seen it through. His dad's played here. So his excitement level on Friday night is going to be through the roof. And we're just going to have to calm him down and just let him enjoy every moment. And it's going to be exciting to watch him.
Well, in talking about that, Jackson's obviously when you're kind of offense, these quarterbacks are only going to be as good as what you have on the offensive line. Matt Stanyard always does a nice job. You got a couple guys coming back. I think Noah Habig and Ethan, Ellington, he's coming back. So up front, talk about your offensive line and what some of the guys that you're missing, and then the guys that you got coming back.
Oh, I think the left side of Ellington and Habig is a very, very solid top of the line ECC, and then we bring in Zach Zoglio, who played tight end last year and finished off the year fantastic and has grown a lot this offseason. And we're excited to see him step into center. And then we have juniors, Gabe Harris and Aiden Trowbridge at right guard, right tackle with Austin Sledge. So we have 6 guys for 5 spots. And it's going to be one of those things where we're athletic up front. The right side may not be big, 6'3", 6'4" that we've had in the past, but that's what high school is about. Just gritty, tough guys at the line of scrimmage and see how good we are. And Habig has some size and Ellington has some size. So we can't wait to see what the left side of the line does for us this year. And then we have a tight end, Brody Foley, who's 6'6", 230, who I think is going to be special as well.
Yeah, and you guys, a couple other guys that had some significant minutes for you guys last year is Andrew Williams did a nice job at running back. And then you also got Jared McClanahan. He also had a nice game. So you do have some guys that are coming back on the specialty side of it. So it's going to be nice to have those guys in the fold too.
I think Andrew Williams, Jared McClanahan, and Evan Upchurch are ready to have breakout seasons. I think we're going to get the ball to them throughout the game. And at one point, you're going to see Andrew Williams take over a game, Jared McClanahan maybe the next week, and then Evan Upchurch the following week. It's going to be different top performers, but if they stay healthy, I think they're pretty special with the ball. Andrew Williams did a really great job as a sophomore versus Troy in the playoffs, and then as a junior, battled some injuries and played through them. And Jarek was out 2 games last year, and his ability to be on our kickoff return team as well as playing receiver with the hands when he has the ball, he's pretty special.
Yeah, so it's going to be nice. And not only that, now let's go on a flip on the defensive side of the football. You lose your defensive coordinator. Nick Schmidt goes to Batavia, which is going to be a big loss because your defense was playing really well. But you got Billy Knott coming back. You got Casey O'Toole, Andrew Aziz, and then you got Mitch Dickens too. So your linebacking core looks pretty solid. But overall, your defense played really well last year.
I think everybody needs to realize that our defense was top 2 in the league. We did a really good job last year controlling the line of scrimmage and stopping the run. And that was a key thing for us, and it's a key thing for us again this season. We have to get off the field on 3rd and short, and we have to do a great job of creating turnovers. And the linebacker core being all back has helped us, and I think their leadership has helped us as well. So from a standpoint of defensive team chemistry, when Coach Schmidt left and having a defensive coach, Coach Lynch, take over with Coach Vale, and with the linebacking core back, I think it's helped us in a smooth transition.
Yeah, that'll be nice. But okay, so now let's get into a new opponent in a new league, Little Miami. I think they've had a couple good years, couple good runs. Obviously they were 8-3 last year. They made the playoffs. But talk a little bit about Little Miami and what the challenges are going to bring to you.
I think they had an outstanding football team last year. I would have loved to play them because I think it would have been a great battle. Then this year, coming off one of the best senior seasons that those guys had, they graduated a lot like us, and it's going to be a battle of kind of first-year starters on both sides of the ball to see how good each one of us is. And I think their quarterback play is going to be great. You know, after last season of seeing their sophomore quarterback play a few snaps in varsity games. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do versus him. And then they have a really good receiver, Stocksdale, who I think is going to be top of the league, that we have to be able to stop and find him every play because his ability to go deep as well as catch and run with the football is spectacular.
Yeah, he's a really good – but, you know, and saying that, everything's been weird all this year and everything. No scrimmages, nothing really to watch them. How difficult or hard is that going to be? Because obviously you're just watching film from last year, correct?
I think the crazy part about this is talking to our staff. It's like a peewee game. You really don't know what you're going into.
Right.
It's going back to youth football, and it's going to go back to how efficient you are, how healthy you are, and if you can block and tackle, and see what you are good at throughout the game. And I think the crazy part about this is that we think, well, okay, on offense, I think we just have to control the football, and defense we have to tackle. So every coach in America is going to say that, and it's a coaching cliche, because we really have no film. You have to control what you think you can do, and hey, that's the fun of it. I think this Friday is so very different. You know, talking to Coach Suriano in the past, he would have went crazy without any film, and I love him to death. But this is like one of these times where you go to bed at night and you're like, okay, what can we do better tomorrow, and not worry about Little Miami because, well, we have no idea what they're going to show up in on offense and defense on Friday night.
And saying that, I mean, do you have – I mean, how as a team do you prepare? You just kind of go maybe what they would have done last year? Is that what kind of how you guys do that then, I guess?
We've prepared throughout the summer because we thought we were playing Clinton Massey. We thought we were playing Simon Kenton, who are two polar opposites. So if they do come out in anything power football, well, we've practiced against that. We've come practice against ourselves. And then we practice against some spread stuff already. So I think the biggest thing is about, Dan, on defense is just making sure we eliminate the big plays. Like, we can't allow them to hit big chunk plays over 15 yards over and over again. I think that's a key thing in this game that as we head into it that I'm a little bit worried about because you don't know what they're going to line up in or try to exploit.
But you and I talked a lot before we went on air. Talk a little bit about some of the things that they're going to be doing with the social distancing and all that, how that's going to affect the sidelines. And then also I think we were talking about with the officials, that's going to be done a little bit differently too.
I think the pace of play, the referee is going to spot the ball with a beanbag. He won't be – so when a guy gets tackled, our receiver has to give the ball back to the center, and so on the other side as well. And then on the sideline, you'll see everybody have social distancing with a mask on. And to get subs in and out, to get water, you have to be really efficient. You have to go through it. And then just those little things of throughout a game of the 10-minute halftime. When you get there, you can't get there and go in the locker room for long periods of time before a game. So it's kind of messes with your routine on a Friday of what it's been like for kids. And now going to Little Miami for the first time on Friday night is going to be a little bit different due to the fan allowance in the stands, no band, and kind of just facing a little bit different adversity as we go through this, in the game itself, as well as the sidelines, and making sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, but I think all the guys, and including yourself and myself, that are just excited to be playing football. I mean, they'll take all those, restrictions or whatever just so they get on the field.
I think that is where every kid has shown his level of commitment to do so many little things this summer to make sure we're getting this opportunity to play. And I couldn't be more excited to see all our seniors get an opportunity to play after last spring, to see and hear stories about the seniors who didn't get to play a spring sport.
Right. So, I mean, obviously the keys to the game, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, nervous jitters, but, you're not going to have that crowd making all that kind of noise. So it's not going to be any kind of a, you're on the road. I don't think it's really going to matter anymore when you're on the road because there's really not a crowd to deal with. But what are you going to try to tell your kids just to kind of focus in on what they have to do and not worry about all the other outside distractions?
I think with this and the build-up, Dan, you have to figure out the speed of the game because there's going to be a lot of transition because without scrimmages, without any 7-on-7 work against another team, you really don't know the speed of the game until you get out there Friday night if you're a first-time starter. You remember the first time you started on a varsity game, the speed of the game, of how violent it is, how fast it is, it's at a whole new level. So the guys making those first starts, we just got to take care of them in the first quarter to get them acclimated. And we got to lean on those guys that have a game experience at that level. And I think then it goes into like offense, defense, like offense. You can't turn the ball over and give them a short field or an opportunity to kick a field goal and to extend the lead. And defensively, you can't give up 3rd and long or a trick play for a touchdown. Those little things get you beat in these type of games because you have to be able to feel each other out because you have no idea what everybody else is doing. And us having a senior quarterback helps us out a little bit in that sense. But with a new defensive coordinator, kind of evens out because we haven't been able to go through every game rep yet.
Do you think that there's any less pressure or relief that everybody's in the playoffs? Do you think that some guys might do things that they might not have done as a coach or as players because they know that they're in the playoffs?
You talk to a lot of different coaches, and their perspective on games is totally different now. Like, if a kid wasn't healthy, now it's like, okay, well, we need that kid healthy and ready to go for week 5, 6, and so forth. I think where we're at right now, it's a 1-game season each week. Right. We have to do precautions. We have to do safety. Like, you never know what next week's schedule is going to look like or what it's going to feel like or what the world around us that we can't control is going to look like. So I look at it from, well, what can we do this week to win? And if it's to do little things, play guys both ways, to ensure, okay, what can we do versus Little Miami to make sure that we can come out with a win Friday night? I think that's the way I'm taking it rather than looking forward to week 7 and beyond for playoffs.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a lot going on, a big day tomorrow too. The kids will be ready. And we got our crew back again for our year number 30, and John Raymond will try to probably meet you down there. We found out that he is allowed to be down on the field, so he'll be down there. We'll try to hook up with you before the game at some point. But, again, I know you know how I am. I get really excited. I don't know if I'll be able to sleep like you on Friday. So good luck on Friday. Let's bring home a win, and thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
I appreciate it. Let's have a great year, and we're excited to begin my 5th year here, your 30th year on air, and we're ready to rock and roll.
All right, thanks, Evan. That's Coach Evan Dreyer joining us here on the pregame and halftime show. We'll be back with game action right after this. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome to the pregame and halftime show. And I'm joined, as we had from last year, the former head coach of the Anderson High School, Vince Suriano. And we had a lot of fun doing this last year, and we're back for year two. And Vince, I really appreciate you joining us.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Now, this is a little different than I'm used to. They never quite had all this set up when I was a head coach. So this is all new to me. This is the second or third time I've ever done a Zoom conference. So if I screw it up, you guys are going to have to forgive me.
No, it's all right. It's all good. It's just like we kind of do on the audio part of it. So it's all good. So, let's first get into the situation that we've had at in March with the COVID situation and how have you seen, I don't know if you've had some interaction, but how do you think that the coaches and the players have to this point that you've done? I know that you've had some talks with Coach Dreyer about how they've been dealing with this with the situation with COVID.
I think they've done a great job. I think obviously this is unprecedented. And for them to cope with this the way that they have, to make the adjustments, both players, parents, coaches, I think is phenomenal what they have done. I keep telling Coach Dreyer and all the coaches that I talk to, I don't know if I could do this. I was so detailed and everything had to be perfect and in space and the meetings and everybody had to be in a certain place for a meeting. And, and I would have a difficult time trying to adjust. But I think they've done a tremendous job, of getting communicated. I communicate with many coaches throughout the area and the state and what they have to go through. Worthington Kilbourne, the head coach at Worthington Kilbourne, is from my hometown where I grew up. So I'm on his huddle account. I get all his memos to the players. And the itinerary for what they have to go through to play in week one was unbelievable.
Really?
It just, and how organized they have to be on every specific detail of what they do is astronomical.
Yeah, and what's funny is it's funny when I was talking to Coach Dreyer, he kind of mentioned the same thing about you. Would be up in arms with the way things are now, because he kind of brought that up. He goes, Coach Suriano would be kind of, he'd be trying to get used to this, and he's not used to it. But the other thing that we talked about is the way the game's going to be played now with the referees, and then also the half times being short. Coach Dreyer was kind of like feeling that it was advantageous to him as an offense because he's quick. And, they're going to put the ball down quick and they're going to be ready to roll. So he felt kind of that was going to be, a good thing for him, but it's going to be a learning adjustment, like he said.
Right. If you were organized before with your halftime procedure, you're going to have to be super organized to do it now, because, the first thing you do when you go in at halftime is the coaches meet and share information that you have from the press box or whatever, and then make your adjustments on the board, and then go to the players and make the adjustments on the board, then go out and play. So normally, in a 20-minute window, whatever, now that's cut down in half. So you're going to have to be very specific, very quick, and go do it.
Yeah, and so, it's like I told Coach Dreyer, it's always an exciting time when you have the season opener, and everybody's just excited to get football going. And this Friday is not going to, it's going to be nothing, just going to be unbelievable that, again, I'm unbelievable that this is number year 30 for me for broadcasting these games. So it's just exciting as it was on year one. And, Anderson missed the playoffs last year, but they've got some skill guys coming back. And I know one guy that you're pretty familiar with is Jackson Kuhn. I want to tell you something. For playing his first varsity experience, Jackson Kuhn did very, very, very well. And I would expect the same thing from this year.
Yes, Dan, I started, as being a quarterback trainer when I retired from UC. I started training Jackson, and I'm not taking credit for it. That's not where I'm going with this. But I started training in between the summer of his 8th grade and freshman year. Then I continued on through. And I didn't get an opportunity to train him this spring because of the COVID situation, but I had trained him for 3 years. And the thing that I noticed when I go and watch them, or, sit in the stands and just watch a practice, what I notice is They also send me their practice videos. So mostly I watch every practice video, how extremely accurate he is. That's where I see the biggest improvement on how accurate he has become. I mean, he can put the ball on the money and he puts it right where it needs to be and he threads the needle. And he has the right velocity and the right touch. I mean, he is really good in that area.
And you could see steady improvement from, as the weeks were going on, he was getting better and better and better. And unfortunately, playing probably his best ball, and then he got hurt the last 2 games. But, the thing that's going to be key for him, too, is he's got a couple key guys coming back and a couple of linemen that are coming back. And that always makes it nice for a quarterback to have some guys that are coming back offensively for him.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is, this is his second year now of competing with the offense. And when I watch practice video of them, he doesn't hold the ball very long. He goes through his progressions. He gets the ball to the right receiver, and they have a feel for each other, and they do a really good job with it.
And let's talk a little bit about that offensively. I know you said you've been watching the film. Let's talk a little bit both about Anderson's offense and defense. I mean, pretty much it's the same thing with Coach Dreyer every year. It's the same kind of offense. Have you seen anything different, or do they prepare any differently, especially with the COVID going on?
Well, I think he's done a great job of preparing, how he has everybody spread out all over the field and, they're working on specific routes and passing concepts and so forth. But the thing that I thought in watching practice tape, they're spending more time in what you call an empty set that has 5 receivers, and not a running back. And then they're using the H-back more, so where you have 3 wide receivers and then an H-back as an extra blocker to get that extra guy in the running game. So, and then anytime, Dan, that you are going to go with a lot of empty, you got to have a really good screen game. And Anderson does. And I don't mean just throwing a screen to the running back. I mean, they have what's called a now screen where the quarterback just takes it and throws it to the wide out. They have bubble screens where they throw to the inside receivers. And they have tunnel screens where they bring a receiver from the outside in, and then he goes up the tunnel. And I think that Little Miami, that's something you really have to cope with, because you can't just all out blitz an empty set, because now they're going to hit you with the screens and there's nobody there to defend the screen. So I think they do a great job. Evan has always played with 4 wides, but I just think that they're doing a little bit more with empty and H-back sets, which I think are going to be to their advantage.
Yeah, and I think one guy that I think he got hurt towards the end of last year was Evan Upchurch, and I think they're going to utilize him too a little bit more. And I know one thing too, Vince, that they did a lot, and Evan really likes is in using a big tight end, and I think he's got a big tight end. I think he's 6'6". His last name is Foley, I believe. So you'll probably see him using a lot of tight end too.
That's the H-back. That's the young man they're using as the H-back, and they can motion him, get him where they want, and then they're bringing a receiver from the Upchurch. They'll bring him from the outside, then motion him into the backfield to be a running back. So they're using him as a receiver and a running back, and you never know where he's going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's last year that, we've had several of those H-backs or tight ends. So people out there that are not sure what that H-back is, that's exactly what it is. So, and then what about defensively? I know that Anderson's lost their defensive coordinator. And what kind of an adjustment do you make then, also losing a coach like Nick Schmidt going to Batavia, and then getting used to a new defensive coordinator? And then are they keeping the same things? Or are they doing the same things they've done last year?
From what I can see on practice video is they're still playing what you call the 3-5-3, which is called a 3-3 stack or an odd stack. The one thing about that defense is you have 6 in the box for the run, so it gives you an advantage, and you're also balanced outside because it's 3-5-3. You have, 2 strong safeties, you have 2 corners, 1 safety. Now the thing about it is mostly you have to play with 1 high. Safety, and so sometimes your corners are a little bit soft, but they're playing the same type of defense, and their linebackers I think are all returning, and they run really well to the football. So I think that will be their strength. But schematically, I haven't seen much difference in what they did last year. Now, how a new defensive coordinator may call the game may be a little different than what Nick did, but we'll see when the games start.
Yeah, and I know one of the former Anderson players. I I think that you might have, because Brian Vale, I think, isn't he one of the assistant defensive coordinators, I believe?
I believe Brian is still on the staff. Yes.
Yeah, so that's good. So let's get into anything else that you've noticed in practice that maybe people can be aware of, like offensively or defensively, that might be something different. Anything, or is it pretty much?
No, other than what I said about look for a little more empty, and they're really good in the screen game, and with the ability now with Jackson Coons a little bit bigger, he's a little bit stronger, and when they get an empty, he's a threat to run the football. So it's not like you can just get everybody out of the box. That's where they get the people in the bind. If they get all their defensive personnel outside the box to guard the pass, Jackson can run the football. If they stay in tight, then he throws the football. So I think that's why Evan's running out of that set.
Yeah. So let's get Little Miami. Little Miami last year, I think they've made the playoffs 2 years in a row, I believe. Had a really, really good year. Had a lot of good players that graduated. But I know there's one guy that they have. I think it's Stocksdale maybe is a wide receiver that they have. That's someone that Anderson's going to have to really keep their eye on. But talk a little bit about what you've seen or what you might have seen in film from Little Miami.
Okay, I talk offensively first. They're very similar to Anderson in the fact that they're what you call a multiple spread. Now, one of the things that they do, it's a little bit different than maybe what Anderson does, is they use a lot of motion. And they do a really good job with the motion to get like a numbers advantage on the perimeter or to get blocking angles. And they do a really nice job to put pressure on the defense with motion. And they will run the running back and the quarterback. They did last year, and looking at last year's video, an equal amount, where whatever run they have with the running back, they have the same run with the quarterbacks. And they have a good blend of the inside and outside running game. But I do think that they are a run team first, and then they like to throw the football to blend the pass with the run. But they want to establish the run first.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, because I know Coach Dreyer said one of the guys that he said he was really worried about was, I believe he's a wide receiver, Stocksdale. So we'll see if he's going to become a factor in this game tonight. And then, also defensively, what do they look like defensively?
Okay, defensively, they are in what you call a 3-4 front with 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. And again, their theory and philosophy is to stop the run first. And most of the time versus spread teams, you will drop those outside linebackers off to take the flats or to guard the number 2 or inside receivers. They like to keep them in tight as much as they can until you force them to move them out, because you're hurting them with the passing game. And they like to go with 2 high safeties if they can, and keep the outside linebackers in tight until you force them out of it. Then they'll rotate a strong safety down to one side, pull an outside linebacker out to the backside flat, and then they'll go from there. The person that they like to blitz the most is the weak side outside linebacker. So, in pass protection, that's the guy that you have to be aware of. But they try to go too high and press their corners until you start hurting them with the inside receivers. Then they make an adjustment and start changing it up and backing the corners off and bringing somebody down into the flats.
So saying all that kind of Anderson's offense and what their defense is, I mean, just listening to what you say, Coach Dreyer is really good at making adjustments during the game. And also, so I think he'll try to do exactly what you said, make them try to do something that they don't want to do or they're not comfortable doing. Did you agree with that?
Yes, and I think he's going to look, and if they have 2 high safeties, then Anderson's probably going to work to the inside receivers. When they go 1 high, he'll work to the outside receivers. Whenever Little Miami, you get into the red zone on them, they change and go to what you call cover 1, which is man-to-man with everybody except for 1 free safety who's playing zone. Then I think Anderson may take advantage of their screen package because they're man-to-man. And, they may run off with receivers and then try to hit 1 receiver underneath with the screen game. So you can look for that. They do change out of zone once you get into the red zone and they start to play more man-to-man, which most people do.
So saying that, always season openers are kind of crazy. And what do you expect, obviously, for the keys of the game for Anderson?
Well, I think, Anderson's offense is always so potent. I think they're going to be able to score points one way or another. These young men have been running this offense for a long time. This is Jackson Coon's, second year as being the starter. I think where the question is, and I think it's going to be a question for all teams throughout the state, is because with this COVID, you've had to structure your practices where you don't tackle a lot, you don't hit a lot, you just don't know how good your defense is or isn't, because everything has been so laid back. It's almost like flag football. The kids have been playing flag football. Now all of a sudden you get into a game and now you got to be aggressive. You're hitting people on the run. And those are things that they haven't been able to do in practice. You're limited on how much you can do of that. As when I coached, you could tackle, you could hit, you could do that all the time. There wasn't any limit on it, and it is now. And it's even been more cautious with the COVID situation.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough, and one thing to think about that too, Vince, is injuries. I mean, don't you think that could be a big factor too? Like you said, they're not tackling, they're just doing that. Kids are going to be geeked up a little bit, and I think that you might see a lot of injuries.
Yeah, you'll just have to wait and see with that, Dan. I think one thing, the way they have had to practice is your players are going to be fresh because they haven't taken a beating for a month in practice.
True, yeah.
And so they're going into the game fresh. Now, they may get dinged up a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they should go into the game pretty healthy.
Yeah, well,
both teams.
Good. Yeah, that's good. So I know you and I talked the other day, and I just wanted to let everybody out there know that Coach Suriano will be doing, I believe, am I allowed to say that about doing the games on Spectrum? Is that?
Yeah. I won't do any for the first 2 weeks because they are only doing 2 games in the state of Ohio to kind of see how this thing plays out. And then they told me they would probably start me in week 3, whenever they need me, and start using me being the color commentator again.
Well, that's great. And I'll just tell everybody you got your start on USBN Sports. So that's what I'll.
There you go. I'm good with that.
So, hey, Vince, I really appreciate you doing this. I look forward to, hopefully we'll have week 2 and we'll catch up. And I think you're going to become a pro at this Zoom thing because you figured it out pretty well today.
Yeah, my sons have coached me up a little bit. So,
well, I appreciate it, Vince. So we're going to wrap it up here. So for Vince Suriano and Dan Albers, you've been watching the pregame and halftime show. We're back with game action right after this.